Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, Casey Whalen with me. We're talking about this battle, ladies and gentlemen, regarding this malicious harassment law in Idaho. They claim has no penalties, but the penalties are right in the law. And the bottom line is then this op-ed piece was written by this attorney attacking Casey. And so Casey's working on a response to it. But the bottom line is they're saying Idaho group hosted journalist who flirts with Holocaust denial. Now, I just want to kind of back up for a second and say this to the mainstream press. Why, when you interview somebody, is it, quote, okay? But when we interview somebody, it's not. If Tucker interviews Nick Fuentes, it's not okay. Oh, Matt, Tucker's horrible, evil, racist, bigot, anti-Semite, horrible. But yet these clowns can interview all kinds of people that murder babies and abortions, all kinds of... What about this Jewish organization? What about some of these communist organizations like the IREHR? What about all that? So they're very picky in that they can do whatever they want to, and it's above reproach. But if you do it, you're either not a real journalist or you're a bigot, right, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely. That seems to be the case. And I recently interviewed a lot of what they put in the article was I went to TPUSA last year in Detroit on Media Row, and I didn't want to go to see Donald Trump. I just didn't want to deal with all the security and stuff. So I was at my hotel across the street, and I was looking out the window, and a bunch of Groypers and Nick Fuentes ended up showing up. So I filmed the whole thing, and it was really interesting. You know, they were shouting.
Okay, so they want to make it like you were Nick Fuentes' friend. You're carrying the ball for him,
whatever.
And you're just simply saying, I was at a different event. I saw these people all come out. I'm a journalist. I chose to film it and kind of report on it.
Yeah, whatever. This is what they do. But I just recently interviewed Gurmar Rudolph on the Holocaust. He's a chemist who has been exposing a lot of things about the Holocaust. And then I also interviewed Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, who runs ASTAC, the Anti-Zionist America Political Action Committee. So I want to interview everybody. I like to interview people that are somewhat controversial because it's a little fun. It's a little dangerous, in this modern time. So I it's okay because it kind of this whole thing with 50 states, one Israel, really highlighted and accentuated that some of these people and their positions are extremely worried. So that in itself is telling, and it's a God thing, that I'm doing this, to be quite honest.
Amen to that. So this shooting the messenger thing is kind of what I want to highlight, though. Hey, when we're talking about this malicious harassment law, I don't know what that has to do with your views on anything else, for that matter. It's about the discussion about this malicious harassment law, and does it have problems that the American people, the constituents, need to know about? Same thing with this Israel discussion. Okay, 50 states, one Israel. Does the American people, do the constituents know that their legislators are going to these places, doing these things? For example, do you know that your police departments are probably trained by Israel? Are you comfortable with that? Okay, so it's all this that we're bringing to the table, and then what they want to do is shoot the messenger and attack you personally as if somehow you're a bigot. Now, you've interviewed a Holocaust denier, but here's the problem. Whether you agree or disagree with the Holocaust, see, I personally am not a denier, but I don't believe the official story is the way the government told us it was. I don't, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. Do I think it was a horrible, horrific time in history? Absolutely. But do I think that the government told us the truth about it all? No, I don't. And the proof in the pudding is there were operations in the government that let a lot of these criminals slip through the cracks. And Russia and kind of the United States kind of split up the bad guys and protected a lot of people that they shouldn't have. That's for starters. But anyway, I digress. They want to pin this on you that, hey, you have all these beliefs. And then they want to make it because of your beliefs or because of your, quote, guilt by association scenario. That's how they want to pitch this. And they don't want to talk about the 50 state, one Israel. They don't want to talk about the Idaho Malicious Act or Harassment Act law discussion. They don't want to talk about those. So what they do is they just attack the messenger, Casey.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to mention before I forget is that these groups like the Idaho Israel Alliance, which is a local group based in Boise that would meet with the legislators before and after the trip, the National Association of Jewish Legislators, the Jewish Federations of North America. The underlying theme in all of this is that they want an IHRA definition about the Holocaust. They want an anti-Semitism bill, and that's really, in my opinion, a lot of what this is about. This push across the country to implement, hate speech, hate crime type legislation, and classifying Jews will just be one of the many. We have civil rights protecting all that. At the end of the day, do we really need all these specialized classes of people? I don't think we do. I think we just need to uphold the laws that we already currently have against just regular things. We don't need to create enhancements. It's just a slippery slope that we're going up here.
Well, and the problem with those enhancements are they, by law, will do what they're doing now in these articles and in this flyer this lady passed out. They're basically painting somebody into a corner based on a dishonorable, dishonest, fake narrative. Hey, Casey's a Holocaust denier. Well, whether he is or not isn't the point. Painting him as a bigot, as an anti-Semite or whatever else, it doesn't matter what his beliefs are on the Holocaust. He has every right to believe and think what he wants to in America. They make it sound like being a Holocaust denier is a crime. Now, in Germany, it is. They put people in jail for that and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, do we believe that you can think what you want? What if somebody doesn't believe the Holocaust happened? I don't agree with them, but do they have that right? Absolutely. I mean, this is about rights, Casey.
Yeah, yep. That's it. At the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. So I just think by shining a light on a lot of these things, asking questions, it really kind of takes care of itself, to be quite honest. So, or organically, the Overton window has shifted so much now that people understand what's going on with the war, against with Israel and Palestine and all this. People are starting to figure out what's really going on here, and I think that's healthy. And we should ask questions. We should talk to people that we maybe don't agree with or we have questions about it, and it's completely healthy, and that's what we should do.
Well, and when it comes to shooting the messenger, whether you've interviewed people or not, whether you have personal views they agree with or disagree with or not, isn't the point. The point is these two issues about the 50-state, one Israel, and the ties there that are of great concern and to the constituents of Idaho, and then this Idaho malicious harassment law and the changes that it will make that Americans may not realize. But what they're trying to do is just say, hey, because Casey went to TPUSA and eventually covered a Nick Fuentes event outside because he got kicked out of TPUSA. And then, hey, this interview that he did, now he's just a bigot, a hater. He has no credibility. But what we've done now is shot the messenger. We've simply said, hey, he's not a worthy reporter because we disagree with him on our own beliefs. But at the end of the day, the question is Casey Whalen speaking the facts? Do we have these ties to our local legislators? Are we going to have these eventual harassment laws that pretend they don't have a penalty, but at the end of the day, people are going to go to prison over their thoughts and beliefs? Because this harassment law really starts to get into, you believe the wrong things, Casey, therefore we're going to shoot the messenger. You believe the wrong things, Casey, so we're now going to use the law against you. That's where this is headed, right?
Yeah, and so real quickly before we run out of time, these human rights groups will use these things that happen. For instance, last year in Coeur d'Alene, there was the UCAA women's basketball team in Coeur d'Alene. There was some black people in that crowd of girls, and some 18-year-old kid yelled out the window the N-word, and he didn't threaten her. I mean, he did say, "I know you're the N-word, but I'd still have sex with you," is kind of what he said. That's kind of what he said. And at the end of the day, they couldn't charge him with anything because he never actually harmed anybody. He never damaged property. Yeah, he did use some sort of slur, but because he didn't he didn't actually commit a crime, they couldn't charge him with that enhancement. So
they want to change that. Now,
yeah,
I don't defend what the guy said at all.
No, but this 18-year-old kid, just real quickly, his father owned him. He lost his job at the Coeur d'Alene Resort. So there were ramifications from what he said, but I don't think he deserved to be in jail for maybe 5 years and face a $5,000 penalty over his words. That's extremely dangerous. Who decides? So I don't want to live in that world, and so I'm encouraging people across the country to show up this legislative cycle and be prepared because they will be passing anti-Semitism bill laws, anti-BDS bill. We have that's already passed in Idaho in 2021. So people need to become much more proactive.
And the most important reason we have you on about this is not just Idaho, people. That's where we basically pulled the records and proved the facts and been attacked. Yes, Casey Whalen, CaseyWhalen.substack.com. If you want to learn more, North Idaho Exposed, look for it. He's available on Rumble and Twitter and everywhere else, doing his great in the field reporting stuff. But at the end of the day, the issue is this is happening in your state, in your local municipalities. This is happening. They're working on these laws to barbecue you for what you think, to shoot the messenger, to focus on these ties to Israel, and to basically make everybody really an anti-Semite. You're either in bed with the blacks and the Israelis, or you're an enemy. And that's the way they want to pitch it. And I reject that. We already have laws against crimes. By all means, if people commit crimes, prosecute, fine. But this thought police idea that we're backing into is absolutely dangerous. And anybody who can raise the alarm bell on that, good on them. And I reject this idea that we're going to create guilt by association, or some kind of this idea that, because someone doesn't think exactly like you do on something else, that they've lost all credibility. That's the crisis playing out in America today. Casey, final word to the public?
People can follow me. I put out a lot of stuff on X, Casey_Whalen, WHALN. Thank you so much for your time today, Sam.
You betcha. Casey Whalen doing a phenomenal job. North Idaho Exposed. We'll have him back. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. Hopefully it was educational and entertaining. If you stand up for God, family, and country, you're getting attacked. But just know that you stand with your Savior, Jesus Christ. That's a great place to stand, in my humble opinion. Thanks for being alongside. LovingLiberty.net. Spread the word, share the love. God save the Republic of the United States of America.